Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited. Today is April 26th, and I'd like to thank all of you for joining this call, particularly those of you calling in for the first time and those that will be listening to the replay over the next 24 to 48 hours. The things we discuss on this call are of interest to you. I strongly suggest that you hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss any of our weekly calls and share them with other like-minded individuals that might be interested in the things that we have to say. I had a rather long call planned for this morning, but I got a call in the middle of the night, which I didn't pick up till about 9 a.m. my time, and based on that call, I'm going to have to shorten this call. There will be a call that's actually going to be starting now that I need to get involved in. It has to do with the exchange rate in Iraq, so it's a very important call. In my view, what's going on right now is very confusing. I'm going to try to clarify it to the best that I can. I'll probably get clarification on the call that's starting now, but it is what it is. So I'm going to provide some baseline information for you here today. First, in my opinion, with regard to the reinstatement and revaluation of the Iraqi dinar, I think we've officially reached the point of no return. I simply see no way they cannot proceed other than to reinstitute and revalue their currency. They've painted themselves into a corner intentionally. Soudani, the prime minister, for probably months now, has been telling the citizens to hold on to their dinar, their currency. It's going to have value. The CBI is officially in the process of de-dollarizing the nation. The ATMs only now transact with a dinar. Purchases in country of goods and services for the citizens are done in dinar. The banks have also begun a number of reforms, one of which is to create the equivalent of what we have, the FDIC insurance. So that should also help to gather some of the provisional 3-0 currency that's floating out of there because they were afraid to put it in the banks. The CBI has also made a tender offer, which is basically an official proposal for the structure for their new national currency. They want to create multicolored denominations, and, of course, the release of the new category small notes in the fills. Of course, this will take time, but the citizens can utilize the provisional 3-0 currency in lieu of the U.S. dollar. It's just that the 3 zeros will not be honored, meaning that, once again, a $10,000 dinar note is really a 10 dinar note, and a 25,000 dinar note is now a 25 dinar note. They're proceeding in a lot of areas. The new tripartite government is in agreement on the budget, the HCL, and the Article 140. One thing I did not mention was the window for the reinstitution of the dinar. Last week, we had projected a window of between April 21st, which was the end of Ramadan, and the beginning of Eid al-Fitr, the celebration, to May 15th. That is still a possibility, but based on some of the things that I'm hearing and learning from other individuals, it could get pushed to early June, but I can't see it going beyond then, because once you have de-dollarized, and once the citizens are operating with the dinar, they need to reinstitute the currency in order to preserve purchasing power, and they can't allow this to continue. The Sadrists thus far have been pretty quiet, meaning they're quiet approval for what's going on in the progress, but they can't keep the citizens in a situation of limbo with a currency that has not reinstituted if they have basically taken the dollar off the street. So that's why I cannot see this thing moving beyond early June. There are a lot of scenarios about what's going to happen over the next 4 to 6 weeks. We've seen over recent months the dinar go from 1,700, 1,460 to 1,310, so that's a significant drop. But remember, at one point they were at 1190. So they still haven't even reached the point where they were in their best position in the not too distant past. So they're going to need to push through. There are a number of scenarios. This is what the substance of the call that I hope to get onto is about. One scenario, and these are all hypotheticals, but they're based on information that we've been provided. One scenario is that they drop the dinar raise the dinar to only 1,000 dinars against the U.S. dollar versus the current 1310. Once they do that, when they delete the zeros, we think in terms of, a 10,000 dinar note's now a 10 dinar note, a 25,000 dinar note's now a 25 dinar note. But it also means they drop the zeros on the rate against the U.S. dollar, bringing it parallel. So 1,000 dinars against $1 become, with the deletion of those three zeros, parallel, 1 dinar for $1. Now, Soudani has, in my opinion, unnecessarily complicated things. Again, I hope to get clarification on this call. He talks the possibility of 1.5 versus the U.S. dollar, or is that $1.5 versus the dinar? They're a little bit cryptic. They create an ambivalence. I don't know why they do this. Sometimes they'll talk about the original rate, the glory day rate. They use these terms, and they're just not specific, which is, from my perspective, extremely annoying. So, for example, if it's 1.5 dinar per $1, that means the dinar would move to 67 cents. That's a significant jump. But again, it's still a loss of purchasing power for the citizen. At 1.5, to my mind, at least does make a little more sense. It means that the dinar is worth $1.50, which means there's no reason for a citizen to even use a dollar. But why would they go to that high a premium over the dollar if they're in the process of de-dollarizing? And the other, of course, suggestion is that they just go to a one-to-one with the U.S. dollar, not because there's more dollars in circulation, but because they want to preserve the purchasing power for goods and services in the country. So while it's annoying from my perspective that we just don't have absolute clarity on that, one thing is for sure. By the removal of the use of the U.S. dollar in country, they are by necessity having to reinstitute their currency in order to preserve the ability of their citizens to merely function. So we're looking at, again, a reinstitution, hopefully as early as May 15th, but I can't see it prolonged 30 days beyond that. Of course, once we get to June 15th, and I've discussed this repeatedly on our calls, once we get to the very end of a quarter, within, say, 2 weeks of a quarter, we don't want to see it then, because then we have a problem with regard to taxation and when to negotiate the exchange. If I were, for example, told that the reinstitution or the revaluation globally would be June 15th, I'd say, no, just push it to July 7th or something. Just get us into the month of July. But again, the reinstitution in country is not the same thing as the revaluation. So if we have a reinstitution in mid or late June, we might not see the global revaluation to July. What I don't want to see is a global revaluation late in June, because that creates some logistical problems for us. That's basically the information that I do have for today. I'm going to suggest for newer callers that you go to two calls. One is our call of March 1st of this year. I go into an in-depth history of the central bank. A lot of people in this country, and I'm one of them, is extremely frustrated with the current government, the things that they're doing, the globalist approach to everything, subverting our sovereignty to these international groups. But when you understand the history of the central bank, you'll understand that the globalists have been interfering in the affairs of the United States since our inception. The call of last week, which was the 19th, is a good call because it goes in depth into not only the program we put in place to assist Dinarians both pre and post-RV, but we discussed some of the issues that we're going to have to deal with after we have this currency. I'll give you a real quick history and then get into what's happening right now. For those of us that have been Dinarians for any length of time, we know that there was a possibility that they could push this through way back in 2012. But two individuals made sure that didn't happen. One was Barack Obama, who was in the process of his fundamental transformation of the United States, and the last thing he needed was 10 million new American millionaires that were not going to vote for higher taxes, more regulation, and larger government. Then we had the then Prime Minister of Iraq, Maliki, who was basically a corrupt pro-Iranian official whose objective was to make sure that the nation of Iraq remained subordinate and under the control of Iran, that to this day does everything they can to pilfer the wealth from Iraq. Fast forward to 2023. We have the Biden kleptocracy in charge here. This bunch is by far, in my opinion, the worst bunch to ever run this country. I think I could go to the phone book and select 25 names at random, and they couldn't do a worse job than this bunch. I don't know whether it's abject stupidity, nefarious intentions, or some combination of both. But is it a coincidence that at the very time these currencies, not just the dinar, but these other currencies are in a position to revalue, and a number of Americans, perhaps as many as 15 Americans, are going to have a windfall that will literally make them overnight millionaires? Is it a coincidence that the Biden administration has raised the capital gain rate, created the millionaire surtax, now they're trying to introduce a wealth tax and a central bank digital currency? I don't think it's a coincidence. I think that these currencies are not the sole reason, but one of the reasons that they're trying to put the clamps on us, because they just don't want us to have this money. I don't think it's any more complicated than that. Now, the call of last week, and I'll just give you one example. We were talking about the central bank digital currency and how, in my position, it is a grotesque violation of our Fourth Amendment right to privacy. But what the left tends to do is they try to jam through things they know are unconstitutional. So at the very least, at least for a period of time, they can do what they're doing, and they continue to chip away, chip away, chip away. And one of the suggestions we made is, let's say hypothetically you went to the bank after the revaluation, you had 10 million dinar, and you just got $1 for it. You have $10 million. And you're going to invest most of it, but you're going to have some money, some liquidity in a bank. Well, one of the things we suggested is that you transition to income-producing tangible assets. A couple of examples would be something called a REIT, a real estate investment trust. It works like a mutual fund, but instead of investing in a portfolio of stocks and bonds, you're investing in a portfolio of income-producing commercial real estate, which pays you a dividend. Other examples would be investing, if you've got to be in the market, in something called non-cyclicals, meaning things that do well in an up or down market, like Coca-Cola, Procter & Gamble, something that people always purchase. It's a very stable company. It does well in bull markets and bear markets. It pays a dividend. You then take the dividend that's paid from these REITs or these very stable, high dividend yielding stocks, and you have the money deposited in a Texas bank. Why? Because Texas is going to create its own gold-backed currency operating outside of the federal central bank digital currency system. Then you will operate with an ATM card from that bank account or from a credit card from those banks, and you'll be able to operate outside of the central bank digital currency system. Now, it's entirely possible that the central bank digital currency will not survive. But you have to be aware of these options so that you can circumvent and opt out of these things. The high surveillance, high tax state that they're trying to create can be properly circumvented by the establishment of a family asset protection trust package such as ours, and by using mechanisms like establishing accounts outside of their system. Now, again, I would suggest our call of March 1st. Go in 11 minutes into the call and learn about the central bank. I think you will be shocked by what you'll learn. Second, listen to our call of last week and understand the power of the Family Asset Protection Trust package and the strategies and tactics that you can utilize to opt out of what they have in store for us. Now, you can go to our website, which is trusts with an S, unlimitedllc.com, or you can go to our phone service. You can go to our email, which is trusts with an S, unlimitedllc@gmail.com, or you can go to our phone services, which is 307-274-4122. If you contact us by email or phone and request our initial trust package, we'll be happy to get it out to you. It has a lot of information about us, about the trusts, about the currencies, and we can also assist you with some of these other post-RV options. The trust package does contain everything you need if you do wish to proceed with the establishment of your trust package, but there's no obligation to do so. You can contact us if you have any questions. We'll be happy to assist you in every way, and there will be no consultation fee. Our next call is scheduled for next week. Certainly, if something of a dramatic nature were to happen between now and then, we'll try to get out an emergency email and schedule an emergency conference call. Certainly, part of next week's call is going to be the information I gleaned from the call I'm going to patch into as soon as we get off of this call. Again, I apologize for not having a full call today, but this is an important call I need to get into because this is information that we all need. So we'll be back next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks so much for listening, everyone, and have a great week. Bye-bye.